You're watching the Batter Fans Network.
The heroes are back. Beards talking balls, rapping pink and black. Coming live from the 305, it's official tissue. The Batter Fan, Chris and Dan, weekly rocking with you. We talk Messi, Boosie, Jordy, Lucho, the Fat Four, to Ben Cram, Noah, Ruiz, Fred. What more could you ask for? Tighten up and get ready, listen in on the pod. Solana and X in Espanol, just to even the odds. Breakdowns and gas bagging, join the tribe and just vibe. Free 99, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't hesitate, say what's up, go ahead and come in. No question about it, I'm ready to get hurt again.
No question about it, I am ready to get hurt again.
Solana, the Heroes are back. Welcome everybody to episode number 408 of the Better Heroes Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Ganan, and alongside me, I got Mr. Daniel Solana. How are you doing, sir?
Well, there's a lot of activity going on with Inter Miami this week, so I'm doing fantastic. And unfortunately, like your intro, I'm not ready to get hurt again. So I really hope they do something different against LA Galaxy this week, because last weekend's game was an absolute debauchery.
Well, before the Orlando game, we said this is probably, and in football, anybody could beat anybody any given day, right? We know that, but that Orlando game was going to be the toughest game they had left for a while, because now they have a run of games in which, I mean, like I said, they could draw, they could lose against any team, but they should be favorites, and they should be able to pull out most of these wins against the teams coming up. LA Galaxy being the worst team in the league right now. Then they have, I believe, I want to say, is it DC? They have a couple run against some poor teams. They have Atlanta scattered in somewhere in there. I know it's Charlotte on my birthday. They have Chicago on August 30th, which that game might get changed if they end up making it to the final of the Leagues Cup, because August 31st would be the Leagues Cup final. So, yeah, I don't think that we should be too worried about getting hurt in the near future, because I do believe that they're going to run into some teams that they should beat. And whether you beat good teams or bad team, wins help mentally. It helps with momentum, kind of makes you feel a little better, and it should be all good.
That's right. I agree. I'm here busy reading the chat, talking about people saying that, that I'm free to be a guest because I've been all over the place. But yeah, it is what it is. I'll take the Solana for mayor, and no, Inter Miami was not shut down since Sonny entered the league. In fact, I know he sold a lot of jerseys, but he still hasn't outsold Messi in the number of jerseys. So get on the back of the bus, son.
I don't really want to get too into that. Chris and I talked about it on the MLS show earlier this week about the whole Sun and how is it bigger than Messi. It's silly to say it's bigger than Messi. I don't even know where to go else from there. Like that, that's just silly. It's just silly to say. But Sun is going to bring a lot of eyes from the Asian population, the Korean specifically, and that's great. It's great for the league. He came in at the age of 33, so it's towards the back end of his prime. But yeah, it's just silly to say. All right, the transfer window ends next week, I believe. Drake is gone. Redondo's gone. We have some other names that we think might be on the way out also. What did you think of the Redondo and Drake exits, since we didn't get your opinion on it before we get into the starting 11?
Well, let's start off with Redondo, right? Fede, unfortunately, he came in with a lot of expectations, with a big name, due to his father's history, Fernando Redondo, and his history with the Argentine national team and with Real Madrid. So, he had some big shoes to fill, and he couldn't fill those shoes. Inter Miami, I think, overpaid for him because of the last name and because of who his dad was and his connections to who might be running the team or in charge of the team or helping out the team. And so that's what I think happened with Redondo. Now, I think he was kind of dealt an unfair hand, because had Busquets not been here, he would have been the guy to play that role, and I think he would have been better in that role for Inter Miami than, you know, the role that he was given to play, which was more of a box-to-box, you know, 6 to 8, and that's not really what he is. He's a pure 5, and a lot of people compare him to Busquets. So, you know, I think he was dealt an unfair hand, and I think that he's going to have a nice breath of fresh air over in Elche. And look, the fact that Inter Miami was able to keep a 50% sell-on clause, I think is huge because, yes, they only got $2.5 million of the 8 that they paid for him. But if he, you know, was able to break out, remember, they get 50% of whatever future sale, you know, Elche does with him.
If he lives up to what the potential that I think you and I both agree we think he has, if they just sell him for a minimum of 15 mil somewhere else, we already break even. Because
we already make $1 million.
You know, yeah, I was about to say because we got him for 8 million, right? And we sold him 2.5.
Yep. So we only need they only need to sell for 11 million.
So imagine that. So and the potential that he has, I have a feeling that he might sell for more than 11 mil. So they'll make it up. It's just you're just gonna have to wait a little bit, but they'll make it up. And shout out to Mitch. This is one of the craziest stories, most disrespectful stories that you'll ever hear, where Redondo goes up to Chris. Shout out to Chris that's not with us today, and he asks Redondo to go and get Robert Taylor and bring him out here so he can get an autograph. Do you have any idea how disrespectful that is to a professional athlete, especially somebody who I'm assuming Redondo feels like he is, to tell him, hey, could you do me a favor and go get this guy? Yeah, that's extremely disrespectful. So
absolutely.
All right, Chris is in the chat, but not on the stream. Yeah, Chris is at the moment in Disney Springs, so he's living his best life.
I'll be there in a couple weeks.
That must be nice. I won't. Starting 11 for the Galaxy. Well, before we get into starting 11,
you didn't let me talk about Drake, but that's a good thing.
That's right. That's right. I mean, you could summarize it in a couple words because I hate having a Drake debate with you.
I mean, look, good riddance. He's gone. I think, you know, he had his Leagues Cup 2023 hero run. And outside of that, I think he was just mostly average, sometimes below average. And I know I'm going to catch a lot of heat for that, but that's just my personal opinion. So, look, good riddance. I think, you know, we flip a piece of an asset who, you know, was not adding anything to the team at this point, at least for this season. You open a roster spot. We still don't know what we got back for Drake, but once we know what we got back, you know, we'll see how good of a deal it was. And, you know, unfortunately, I wouldn't have liked to trade him into an inter-conference rival. But it looks like he's going to be sitting in the pine because he's going to be sitting right behind Callender, who was the goalkeeper of the year last year, unless they sell, you know, unless their plan is to sell him in the next transfer window and have Drake start next year, which in that case, I can't wait to see him when Inter Miami faces Charlotte.
I think Kalina's contract might be up this year. So I think that Drake starting for them next year is a possibility. But I don't see why you hate him being a player in the Eastern Conference where you say he sucks. So by your logic, it should be good that he's staying in the Eastern Conference. We could play him twice a year. I think that Drake is underappreciated. I still don't fathom how you could say that he is below average. I think that he was great in 2023. I thought he was very good in 2024. I think that the 2024 hate is weird because it was the defense that was failing so often, and he was making incredible stops time and time again. And you know what? When we get our guest on, I'm sure he'll remember that Drake had a big block in the last time they played against the Galaxy, which was the reason that they were able to end up with a draw. So Drake did a lot of big things for us. Without Drake, we don't win that supporter shield last year.
Look, he reminded me last night when I was on his show that he stopped Ricky Puig's shot. But again, that's great, man. And, you know, keepers can stop penalties, you know, any given game. But at the end of the day, you know, he didn't have the vision that a goalkeeper had. He didn't have the organization to organize his defense. He didn't come out playing from the back with his feet that well. He was very good at stopping shots. That's what he was very good at doing. But unfortunately, now in today's game, to be a goalkeeper, you can't just be good at stopping shots. You have to evolve. You have to be better. And he wasn't evolving. He wasn't getting better.
And I don't want to get it, like I said, and I end up getting dragged into the mud with Solano whenever we have a Drake debate. But real quick, you would say Kalina is better than Drake?
Yes.
Would you take Kalina on this team?
Yes.
Okay. Kalina also sucks with his feet. So all he is a good shot stopper like Drake.
He's a little bit better than Drake with his feet.
He's not. He's not. I've had this conversation in depth with Charlotte people because I was curious. I was like, do they hate Kalina as much as everybody here hates Drake?
Mind you, I would take him as a backup. I'd still start Ustadi. Ustadi for me, unless Inter Miami brings somebody who I think is better than Ustadi, Ustadi is my starting goalkeeper.
Okay. Look, I've never debated Ustadi earning that position this year. I thought he played well while he was a starter. Even though he hasn't looked great, I thought he's looked good. The way he's the sweeper keeper, he comes out and attacks balls. That's great. He had a horrible game last week, but he has had good performances. If he doesn't have that Al Ali performance, we lose by a couple goals. So Ustadi has also had games. But I'm not the guy that, I have to talk good about Drake, so let me shit on Ustadi. I'm not the guy that has to talk about good about Ustadi, so let me shit on Drake. I think.
Oh, no. I don't shit on Drake because I talk good about Ustadi. I shit on Drake because that's truly how I feel. And at this point, I don't think that you need to keep somebody around for nostalgia. And that's exactly what Inter Miami was doing at this point because he wasn't offering the team absolutely anything. He wasn't training, right? He was working back from an injury. He's been injured all. I understand, but he's been injured all season. So and look, and I've mentioned it to you in the past. I mentioned it on the pod in the past. I think they should have sold him after the 2023 Leagues Cup run when they should have sold high. They probably could have sold him for $4, $5, $6 million. We probably just got $150,000 a game and a roster spot or something like that.
Like I said, not gonna get dragged on this. Miami starting 11 against. I forgot to put up the logo for the Galaxy. Against the Galaxy. Who do you think starts before we bring in our guest here to tell us about the Galaxy? Who do you think starts? Just to remind you, this was the starting 11 for our last game. Okay, I'll start with this. The pressing question. Does Messi play on Saturday?
No, I don't think he does. I don't think he does. I don't think they risk him. I think the Tigres game is a much bigger game in Inter Miami's eyes when you compare it to, and Edgar's going to hate me for this, but when you're playing against last place team Galaxy, you should be able to win without Messi. So I don't think they risk him. Although, Denny, there's a lot of fans and a lot of folks on social media saying that he should at least play 15, 20 minutes to get back into rhythm. He's Messi. He doesn't need 15 minutes to get back. Like if he doesn't, the 15 minutes could get him injured again. I would rather wait, and give him an extra 4 or 5 days of rest and practice.
Scrimmage. Yeah, give him 15 minutes in scrimmage. He doesn't need no 15 minutes of live action.
Exactly.
Messi, and it's not like he's been out for 3 or 4 months. It's been 2 weeks? Like he'll be fine. Just make pretend that they had like an extended bye week. Like he'll be 100% fine playing. I don't think he plays. If he were to hypothetically play, could you imagine that he plays on Saturday and 15 minutes in he aggravates his hamstring again?
If he does, I'm going to blame Soccer Daddy.
Everybody would be criticizing the team for playing him in what could basically be almost a meaningless game because they should be able. If this team is the championship caliber team, they should be able to beat the worst team in the league right now without Messi because they have talent on this roster. So this is something that they should be able to do.
Absolutely. They should be able to. But at the end of the day, remember, LA Galaxy might be having a very, very poor MLS campaign, but they've had a very, very good Leagues Cup campaign. Remember, they also made it into the quarterfinals. They're one of the teams that made it into the quarterfinals. So look, unfortunately, you can't underestimate any team in the MLS because of the ways the rules are, because the way that the teams are conformed are put together. Any team could beat any team in MLS on any given match day. And so you can't disrespect your opponents. You can't underestimate them. And I think that Machado is going to come out with a very similar lineup than what you have on the screen right there. Although I really wish he would give Noah Allen a rest. I think he does need a rest. I don't think he played his best game last game. Maybe insert Lujan. Maybe we see Toto Aviles for one last time because there are rumblings that he could be on his way out as well. So other than that, I think the midfield has to stay the same. I think Bright and Busquets have to start. I would love to see somebody in there for Allende instead of Allende, but obviously DePaul and Segovia are must-haves in the lineup. And then the big question mark is that right back. Do you keep Ian Frey or do you bring back Chelo Wigan? I think I stick with Ian Frey.
So do I. I think Ian Frey, especially when the team is missing Messi and missing some in the attack, you need to be able to build up the left and the right flank. With Ian Frey, you can build up the right flank. Chelo doesn't give you that, I think. but I don't think that we're gonna see heavy rotation. I see somebody in the chat. I forgot who it was. I'm sorry, I missed your comment, but they said they thought it was going to be heavy rotation. I don't think that it's going to be heavy rotation, but if there is ever a time to do that, I think this is it, because you have a winner go home game on Wednesday against a very good team in Tigres, and if hypothetically you were to lose this game to the Galaxy, it's not the end of your season. But if you lose to Tigres, it is the end of your run in the League's Cup. So I definitely think they need to prioritize League's Cup. And if they have to sacrifice Saturday's game or at least just rotate, I would do it. But I do not think they will do it. But I don't see Messi playing either. I think that would be foolish to play Messi. I think that what you're going to see, what I think you're going to see something like what's on the screen right now. Maybe a Lujan in for Noah Allen, and Falcon moves over to the left center back position. Maybe, but I really think that this is more or less what we're going to see. What about you?
I agree, man. I agree. Again, I think it's going to be exactly like this. Maybe one or two changes in the defense, depending on what way Mascherano wakes up on Saturday morning and how his mate tastes that day, and then he's going to make his decision. But I think overall, at least from the midfield up, we'll see something very similar, and I expect to see Ustadi in goal again.
I would love to see Baltasar start. I would love to see what Baltasar has.
Me too, especially after what he said after today's practice.
Baltasar said something?
Yeah, he spoke to the media. They asked him a question regarding him being injured, and he said that it was his fault the last couple times that he got injured. He came back a little bit too quickly and re-injured himself, that he takes full responsibility, that this time he's fully recovered, and that he owes the fans a lot, and he hopes that he can give the fans exactly what he owes them.
You sure that was Baltasar and not Belisario Machuca?
No, I'm pretty sure it was Baltasar.
Okay. All right. So
I don't even know who Belisario Pachuca is.
That's a Chris invention. I don't know. All right. Without further ado, we do have somebody from News Across the Galaxy to join us to talk some LA Galaxy and maybe explain to us what the hell is going on over there when you are the defending champs and all of a sudden you don't drop down to be a non-playoff team. You become the worst. You went from one to worst. What the hell? What's going on, Edgar? And don't blame it on injuries, because we thought it was injuries at first, but they all came back except for Pooch, and they still sucked.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean that's the complete honest truth.
Yeah, I get you.
At halftime of games, me and a couple other podcasters, we all get together and just discuss the match. And I remember when things were at their worst, we would stand there and like, what's going on? It's like, I don't know. What do you think is wrong with the team? I don't know. And then it was just like, what the hell is wrong with the team now? Nobody really knows. I've come to the conclusion that when you win a championship, right, it takes it's a lot of factors. Your team has to have a very strong identity, right? A positive identity, a winning identity. You also have to make sure your players stay healthy and they're productive, and that there's good chemistry in the clubhouse. So these are all things that are important for a championship run. And of course, you have to have a certain degree of luck. I really don't believe in luck, right? But sometimes balls bounce your way, or you get certain calls in your way, or certain results in other matches turn out to help you out along the way, which is what happened with LA Galaxy towards the end of the last season, where they lost a heartbreaker to Houston on decision day, but it turned out the best for them because they ended up going on a different road to MLS Cup, where they destroyed Colorado and Minnesota before running into Seattle. And of course, they ended up winning the whole thing. This season is like the complete mirror opposite, where you lost some players that were integral to the team. They weren't like DP level, but they were integral to the team. Although people will argue that about Dejan Joveljic, right? But then on top of that, you had injuries to some, of course, Ricky Puig being the main one. He's been out all season, and then you had injuries to some other players. And then you had to bring in a whole bunch of new guys into the fold. Some of them were very young, like Lucas Sanabria, who came in from Paraguay, and then Mateus Nascimento came in from Brazil. And they're young kids, right? They have to acclimate not just to a new country, but a new system, a new coach, a new culture, everything. So you have this happening. Um, and then on top of that, you have this cramped schedule at the start of the season because MLS is so adamant about having Leagues Cup. I know you love it, Danny, but I don't.
I do.
You know, they love Leagues Cup, so the scheduling is all convoluted at the start of the season, and it's all convoluted at the end of the season, just to shoehorn this tournament into the middle of the season. So you have players doing all this stuff in a matter of sequence, like right away, right away, right away, and the team doesn't really get a chance to acclimate well. But even then, even after the injuries, even after like players started coming back, they were still losing games, and they were losing games in the worst way possible. There was one run that completely broke me, and I remember I even started crying a little at the end because there was that one week where they went to Kansas City and they played very good defense and they
Where you
held
blew the
Kansas
3-0
City.
lead?
No, it was it was 0-0 the final. I mean it was a 0-0 game. They
Okay.
didn't allow Kansas City a single shot, not a shot on goal. I mean a single shot. Kansas City didn't even get a shot off, and they still lost the game on an own goal.
Oh, I remember that.
And
Yes.
yeah, so that was that one, right? And then right after that, they go to New York with the rematch MLS Cup, and they get absolutely massacred. It was the red wedding for LA Galaxy fans. They lost 7-0. And then they go to Philly, and our buddy Jimmy King, who covers Philadelphia Union, was telling, Union's not going through a good spot right now. They're ripe for a loss. I wouldn't be surprised if they give up some goals. So it gave me a sense of a little bit of flicker of hope, right?
Hope. Yeah,
So at
hope,
the
yeah.
half, they were up 2-0, and I'm like, I'm with my son and my wife at a Cub Scout event. He's a little Cub Scout, so and I'm like looking at the game like, oh right, this is good job, boys. I think we got this. And then the first 5 minutes, the second half, they cough up 2 goals in very Galaxy fashion. And then I remember telling the chat, I think you were in that chat, Danny, where I said, please, dear God, I hope these guys don't lose at the death. And that's exactly what happened. They gave up a goal at the death and injury time. And then I remember like watching the result, and I just put my phone down, and I'm sitting there by myself because my son and my wife were at like some farmer's market, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, damn, and a little tear just coming down my face. I'm like, this is horrible. And this is not what
Would
I
you,
wanted.
before you won the championship last year, would you have traded? I think I know the answer, but would you have chosen, hey, I'll take the chip, or despite having a crappy year next year, or would you just it's a fair trade-off, right? Because you got to celebrate a chip just a couple months ago.
Well, that's a difficult question because a year ago we weren't expecting anything. We were just hoping to rebuild well enough so that we could have success over an extended period of time, not just cash in all your chips for one trophy. That's why when they did win MLS Cup, it was such a shock and overwhelming thing for a lot of people. Everybody here was crying with joy because nobody expected that. It's not like at the beginning of the season people had LA Galaxy at the top of the list to win MLS
Yeah.
Cup.
Yeah.
And even during that run, remember I was coming on the show and I was telling you, we're just happy to be here, and if they win, at the added bonus. But it's a difficult question to answer.
Yeah, I
I would
get
say
you.
yes, but I would also, why can't we be like Columbus Crew where they win a championship and then they still remain competitive, years after? I don't know. It's just, but to sum it up, it's a situation where everything that could go wrong has
Has
gone
gone
wrong.
wrong.
And I know that sounds silly, right? Because it's
No.
like that it's impossible to happen, but it has happened. There's been injuries. There've been players strife. Captain Mayashita he came back. He had to re-sign a new deal, and he had to take a pay cut even though he just won the championship as the captain. And he said the biggest reason he came back was because his daughter had already ingrained herself, within LA in her school, and he was not willing to move, and so he took a pay cut, and he was very upset. He was very vocal about it in the LA Times. Also, Marco Roach made a comment about the MLS salary cap and how he was upset about it. He's like, you win a championship and then you get punished for it. And so he was upset, and that was also it also went viral. So there's that. There's
Yeah.
those voices in the dressing room, and then you have all these new guys coming in, and then the whole thing. Everybody asked me like, "What about the extension for Vanny, that came right on the heels of that loss to Philly. So everybody's upset and stung about that
That was
run,
stupid.
and then you hear like, oh, they just finalized the deal to extend Vanny's contract, and everybody's like, what the hell? So it's just been
Yeah,
an absolute
a
mess.
lot of a lot of crap going on. Real
You
quick,
crack
I
open a water.
wanted to address this real quick. Danny acting like Messi leaving. Yeah, cheers to you. Like Pooch wouldn't mean Miami would be the worst too. Just so that you and I see Petty Potter for some reason is co-signing this dumbass comment. Just so you guys are aware, Messi played only 19 games last year. That means he missed 15.
He missed the
And
entire summer, and that's where Inter Miami went on their hot streak.
and they
So
somehow managed to win the Supporter Shield and break the record for most points in the league. So just to be clear, Miami can win without Messi. Now, obviously, they are much better with Messi, but yes, they can win without Messi. So I just wanted to clear that up, especially for Petty Pollard that loves to co-sign those things. So, all right. So, Edgar,
Sir.
you guys are losing. Is it because your defense is horrible?
no, it's
Everything is horrible, man.
2 words, one man, Greg Vanny.
Oh,
But he won the chip last year.
Yeah, and then he lost 13 games in a row, and they re-signed him. What the heck is that?
Our buddy Bob Ventimiglia, designated pundit, we had him on our show to preview MLS Cup, and then we had him on again right before the match, the rematch with Red Bull New York. And one of the things that he mentioned, because I asked him too, I was like, how do we go from MLS Cup, right, to the situation the team is in right now, LA Galaxy? And I asked him, what do you think is going on from an outsider's point of view? And then he said, well, here in the Eastern Conference, we're familiar with Vanny because we played him a lot with TFC. And it was kind of the same. He's like, when things were right for them, when the players were healthy, when they had a good attitude in the locker room, they were amazing. TFC was a behemoth. He goes, but the moment they started having injuries, and the players just were not available, everything fell apart for Vanny, and he could not. He wasn't as flexible as you would think other managers would be, because things had to be a certain way. So it kind of opened up my eyes to that, and like me and the other guys on our podcast have been paying attention to that throughout the whole season. Where, okay, he's missing people, right? He's missing some personnel. Well, can you make some adjustments to to look at what you have now instead of just trying to do the same thing, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole?
Yeah.
And it's been difficult because you have players like Painter and Peck who need a certain type of assistance and a certain type of production for them to work better, and they're not getting that kind of service. That's the word I'm looking for. They need a certain kind of service. Give them the ball in empty spaces, or or fire it to them in a through ball up into the corners, but they're not doing that. Vanny's adamant about trying to work away with short passes up the middle, and then maybe sometimes attack down the right. They attack down the right a lot, and it becomes predictable. And then a lot of times, what happens are wingbacks get caught up on the attack, and Galaxy is very susceptible to counters, especially down the middle. And that's where you say that defense is horrible, because they have older players down there and center back, with the exception of Ramiro Garces, who we talked about before. But down the middle, El Galaxy is very soft, and they've also starting to show a lot of weakness on the wings as well. So it's a whole thing that's messed up, which also goes back to the midfield, because they don't have like a really good CDM who can kind of help dictate things. So a lot of times you'll be watching them, and you'll see that the midfield is kind of isolated from both the attacking third and from the defensive team. And so you see these gaps, and that's where visiting teams come in, or opposing teams come in, and they have all the space in the world to like create, to set things up, and then they punish the LA Galaxy.
So, what kind of game plan does Vanny bring out there? Look at this guy with an RSL koozie. Look at this guy.
Yeah, you go up there, you bring some treasures home.
Really?
So
you buy other teams' merchandise?
I
never
can't do it. I can't do
when
it.
you're the champs, you can claim whatever you want.
Oh,
I walked in there wearing my Galaxy gear, and like this vendor came up to me and she's like, "That is one of the nicest kits I've ever seen. I love all the stars." And I was like, "Thank you."
Well, I will tell you, there were some Orlando fans that took pictures of Inter Miami fans looking at Orlando shirts and stickers. Literally, they took the picture of them just looking at it. They weren't at the register, and somehow that's made the rounds. It even made it to like some Instagram pages that like have like hundreds of thousands of followers, like Soccer Bible or some crap like that. And it's like, oh, Inter Miami fans switching over after the loss. They were looking at the merchandise. You're allowed to go to other stadiums and just look around. So
No, apparently you're not. Apparently you're not, Danny.
But I wouldn't buy it though.
I'll one up you guys.
Uh,
In this last home match, LA Galaxy handed out 2005 MLS Cup replica rings to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the 2005 MLS Cup. And the way it was set up is like if you're a season ticket holder, you line up before the match, and then they let you in 30 minutes before everybody else, and it's limited to 5,000, right? So all these season ticket holders, lined up, and you have to go to this tennis stadium, which is adjacent to the stadium itself, and that's where you get your ring. There's photographic evidence of at least one Sounders fan in line to get his, and an LAFC fan also walking away happily with an LA Galaxy 2005 MLS Cup ring, which I'm pretty sure will end up on eBay. But the fact that they're there and you're like, what are you doing, right? Like I wouldn't like if LAFC had the same thing. There's no way you'd catch me in line there for anything.
At least not wearing your Galaxy jersey because that's too. It's too obvious, right?
Even then, I was like, that's not who I am. But
what are you doing at an LA? What are you doing at an LA Galaxy game versus Seattle with an LAFC shirt? Anyways, those kind of people bother me. They bother me.
Every home game we see this. Every home game you'll see people LAFC gear at Galaxy games.
When they're not playing,
they get confused.
Even when they're playing the same night. We've seen it before. Both teams have the game at the same time, the same night, and there's LAFC fans there, and we're like, why? Go to your stadium. It's just like 10 minutes up the road. Just go.
That's interesting. I'd never heard something like that. Wow. So, Vanny, what kind of game plan does he have? Does he like to build up the back? Is he looking for the counter? What kind of game plan is it that we're looking at on Saturday?
Well, he usually employs a 4-2-3-1. I want to say.
Okay.
It's for defenders, two players that kind of play in a pivot, and then you have Royce in the middle, and then you have the wingers, and then you have a forward. And usually Galaxy likes to give the ball away and kind of absorb a little bit of the pressure to kind of gauge what kind of attack they're going to be facing. And once they ascertain that, then they try to maintain some level of possession. But they don't have somebody like that. They don't have a good holding mid or somebody who can really possess the ball for very long, because their players are very susceptible to making mistakes. I'm sorry, Danny Solana, but at the last match, somebody pointed out to me that every Galaxy attack was dying at the feet of Diego Fagundes. And somebody mentioned that to me at the half, and I was like, I wasn't really paying attention. Let me pay closer attention. And sure enough, I don't know if Fagundes is going through a rough spot right now, but there were moments in the match when Galaxy was trying to build, and then they passed the ball to Fagundes, and his head's like, kind of looks like a bobblehead, and he can't find anything, and he just passes back to one of his CDMs or one of the defenders, or they give him the ball, and he just sends a wayward pass. So Galaxy is missing a Ricky Puig. They're missing somebody like that, and a lot of people hate to say it, they're missing somebody like Mark Delgado, who ended up going up the street to LAFC, because when Ricky was not there, yes, Mark Delgado's not the same level, but he's a very cerebral player, has a good footballing IQ, and although he won't give you that same kind of like level of speed and pace, he's still smart enough to know what to do. And in fact, I think I mentioned this to you, Danny, last year when Peck was in. I mean, when Puig was injured in the middle of the season, it was Mark Delgado, who was one of the guys that figured out how to unlock both Peck and Paintsel up the wings. And that's when Peck started scoring a lot of goals. When Puig came back, Puig stopped playing hero ball and he started distributing the ball better to his teammates. But he's not there this year. Yeah. And you have to rely on Cerrillo, who's a good young player. And
will he be back for Leagues Cup?
Pardon?
Will Puig be back for Leagues Cup?
There is a growing rumor. He's teased some photos online of him holding the Leagues Cup ball, saying, coming back soon. And he was when he got injured. Um, Everybody pointed to late August, early September for his return. Initially, they said late July, but now we're definitely in that time where, you get to that last trimester, the
Yeah,
last
yeah,
few weeks, right? And that baby's gonna pop soon, and so it's wherever everybody's waiting for Puig to come back. But the question is, how effective is he going to be? Is it going to be a panacea where he's going to fix everything, or is it going to be like more of a placebo where you put him in there and the team still sucks, right? But definitely at this point, everybody's looking forward to 2026 because the team's going to have a lot more roster flexibility,
for sure.
and they're going to have more money to spend.
What would you say is the strength of this team?
Oh man, I mentioned these to Solana last night.
Losing.
Galaxy's biggest, huh?
I said losing.
Yeah, losing, losing. I mean, figuring out every which way to lose. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me tell you something.
Um,
For those of you that were paying attention to what Edgar told you earlier about the KC game, first time in history. I don't know if it's the first time just in MLS or in the world, but first time at least in the MLS that somebody loses a game without giving up a shot. Wild.
they shot. Not even they didn't even let Kansas City get into the final third. That's how good the defense was that day. And they still lost. And the goal was scored by one of our defenders. So there
Yeah.
you
Strength.
go. Uh, on set pieces, shooting, especially from the direct
Okay.
free kicks. We've seen Fagundes score some bangers. We've seen Royce score some as well. And then sometimes Mateus Nascimento will line one up as well. And also on counterattacks, if Galaxy is able to catch a team up the field and they don't have the speed to come back, you have Peck and Painto who will run right up the wings, and they
Absolutely.
could
They killed
absolutely
Miami
burn
last year.
anybody. I know a lot of people, just maybe 2, 3 weeks ago, before Leagues Cup, people were complaining about Paintsel because they were saying he's not running at 100%. They're like, he looks like he's like in third gear, and that must have got he must have heard those complaints because during Leagues Cup there were situations when there were counters and homie took off and he was burning people, and he gave some of the other Mexican teams a lot of issues. So, but then again, I don't know if you want to get into the whole Leagues Cup chatter. I can because I heard you guys talking about what Galaxy did during Leagues Cup, but I can
mean,
talk about that as
they
well
beat
because two different teams,
no,
right?
they beat well, and they also beat two bad teams, and they beat who was it? It
There
was
you
a
go.
Cruz Azul team that had just lost by 7 to Seattle. They beat them in PKs, so they didn't
No,
outright beat
we
them.
lost
So
to them in
they,
PKs.
sorry, you lost, but you still got a point for that. So, I mean, you still get credit because they beat the teams, but they weren't good teams, and they came back in the first game in the MLS. They get mollywopped by Seattle 4-0. So, I mean, the Galaxy is the Galaxy, but new life for them in Leagues Cup. So we'll see how that goes. So your strengths are our weaknesses. We have a hard time defending set pieces. It feels like everybody just forgets where they're standing, who they're supposed to mark. If they're zone marking, they're doing it wrong. I don't know what the hell's going on. So that's one weakness. And for us, another weakness is defending the counters. We don't have speed. We play a high line. So Peck and Painso can abuse of us if they get the opportunities. So it's a little worrisome that your few strengths are our weaknesses. So let's go into your weaknesses. What is the weakness of Galaxy? Why the hell does
Oh
everybody keep
my
kicking your ass?
god! Oh my god! This is a laundry list because I filled it out earlier. Here we go. Okay, going down the bullet points: finishing scoring chances, aerial duels, stopping opponents from creating chances, defending through ball attacks, defending attacks down the wings, defending against long shots, and avoiding individual errors, which is something that has, oh my god, it's cursed them throughout many games this season. By the way, LA Galaxy right now, I have them. I have them projected to lose every away match this season. The only chance that I think they have the only legitimate chance I see them at winning an away match is against Houston. This is a match that should have been played like a week and a half ago, but there was a torrential downpour in Houston. The match was suspended and has been postponed to later in the season. And then I looked at the rest of the away matches. I was like, oh yeah, they're not winning any of these, right? Even the one in Miami, I'm like, they're not going to win this match, man. So this will be a first in LA Galaxy history where they go without winning a match on the road all season long.
Well, Salon, you got anything before I go into?
Yeah, I know. I know Edgar has a little something up his sleeve because we talked about it last night, and you're gonna like this, Danny, because we are guaranteed a win on Saturday. Absolutely guaranteed a win, and I'm gonna let Edgar explain why. But
Oh my god.
the reason why is not any reason that anybody knows. So go for it, Edgar.
All right, sirs. Drew Fisher, referee Drew Fisher. I know people are like,
Oh, you're gonna go
referees.
the
It's like
referee
reading
route?
tea leaves, right? But here we go. No, hear me out, because we heard about what happened with Tim Ford, right? Well, this is Drew Fisher. He's a Galaxy demon. Whenever you mention his name around the dig, older women, cross themselves. Children start screaming and running. Hide behind their parents. He's a demon, and these here parts. Just I'm gonna go over my ref report. Fisher is FIFA sanctioned. He's refereeing the Olympics, Club World Cup, CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers and tournaments, Gold Cup, Nations League, Campeones Cup, Canadian Premier League, Canadian Championship, NASL, Chinese Super League, and one FIFA friendly. 2024 MLS Ref of the Year. He's been refereeing since 2012. He has done 213 MLS regular season matches, 9 of them with Inter Miami, for a record of 8 wins, 1 draw, 0 losses, a record of 5-0-0 at home. So undefeated at home. 21
For
matches
Miami.
with LA Galaxy. And for Miami, yes. Miami's undefeated with him.
Well, to be fair, we don't lose much, so.
Well, there you go. But this is Drew Fisher we're talking about because listen to this. 21 matches with LA Galaxy for a record of 2 wins, 6 draws, and 13 losses. 2 wins in 21 matches. A clip of 2 wins, 5 draws, 8 losses away. The last time LA Galaxy won a regular season match with him in charge was all the way in 2022. And before that, you have to go all the way back to 2014 when they beat Chivas USA in a match. So I'll repeat it one more time. In 9 matches, Inter Miami has never lost with Fisher as a referee.
But again, we don't lose much. Like you could probably look up at most refs for Miami, and they haven't lost much.
No, man, not Dickerson.
We
Not
lost
Dickerson.
We lost 4 times last year. We lost 5 times this year. Like that's 9 losses
Well, I mean,
in.
this
and I'm
this
talking
rep
about-
absolutely loves us too, though. So there you go.
I mean that I think that was a little more glaring than 21 matches. You guys only have 2 wins, but you guys did have a rough patch. But if he's been roughing you guys for over 10 years, then yeah, that is a bit odd.
13 years.
It's a bit odd. But the Miami thing, I wouldn't put too much weight into. But that
Bet
Galaxy
Miami,
thing was,
baby. Bet
but
Miami.
the Galaxy thing was a little weird with 2 wins in 21 matches. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like looking into the whole ref thing. I don't even know the refs' names. Chris has
Maybe
a
we'll get a
ref,
PK. Maybe we'll get a PK, Danny. We haven't gotten
Yeah.
one all year in MLS.
and we got only
He's
one all
awarded
last
6
year.
penalties this year. So he's. By the way, this guy averages about 4.07 yellows per match. So
Yeah, I remember you told me last night. Last time he refed an Inter Miami game was Miami versus Philadelphia. He gave out 3 yellow cards to Miami and 4 to Philadelphia. 7 yellow cards in a game. Jeez.
Well, Toto Aviles, if he plays, he's gonna get one for sure.
Oh, no doubt. You don't have Redondo anymore, so he can't get one.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Might as well keep Cheto on the bench because he'll get one.
Maybe he'll
All
get
right.
one on the bench.
Yeah. And shout out to Mr. Krabs. Edgar, let's say you are a degenerate gambler
yeah.
and you decide to bet the house on Miami. That's it. You just lost your mind. You're just literally just gonna bet your house on Miami winning. And then Saturday gets here, you start getting a little tummy ache. You're like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. That was a bad idea. But I can't take it back. So you find a way to Chase Stadium, then you walk up to Mascherano because for some reason you have access to him. And then you whisper in his ear, this is how you beat the Galaxy. What are you telling him?
Show up.
You know why I don't like that? Who was it? Was it Justin? Justin Blair gave us the same exact thing. That's what he would say to Mascherano, and we ended up losing that game.
3-0, right?
Oh,
I forgot what the score was, but we ended up losing that game. So Justin put the hex on us, and he said verbatim, word for word, what you just said. Show up, and we ended up losing. That's it. We're losing. We're
Sorry,
losing.
my son's in the background.
It's all good. It's the hex.
No, to be honest, I would say attack down the middle a lot and relentlessly. Try to exploit the Galaxy's. They have slow center backs. Now at center back you have Captain Maya Yoshida, who came back from injury right in the middle of the season. He's having a rough time. Like I said, he dealt with a lot of internal issues, and now he's there, back again. But then also, he's usually paired up with Carlos Emiro Garces, Colombiano, who, young player, had a lot of issues to start the season. He was in Vanny's doghouse for a while because he was committing a lot of really dumb errors, just dumb fouls. He's been sitting on 4 yellows for more than a month now. So whatever Vanny told him, he's been able to really calm down. And then on the wings, we started the season with Miki Yamane on one side and Johnny Nelson on the other. But since Julian Aude, Argentino, came from Lanús, he has since showed a little bit more of attacking flair than Nelson. He's been on that wing. And then Miki Yamane, he's been supplanted by Mauricio Cuevas, another wingback, who really showed a lot in Leagues Cup, but he completely melted against Seattle. Like they caught him up the field and they attacked down his wing and they buried LA Galaxy. But he's somebody you might see against Miami. But that's the thing. You exploit that midfield. I mean that center, that's the middle of the center backs, and it's gonna be easy because a lot of times they have Zonka out there. He's a player who came in from Belgium.
Larry Zonka?
That'd be funny, right? His name is like Williamson. It's like Matthias Jorgensen. I'm sorry. And so they brought him in. He's known as Zanka. He's interesting because when word came down that he was being transferred to LA Galaxy, the home fans for his former team were like, "Good riddance, you guys, got a bad one. Good luck to you guys, And we were like, "What the heck are they talking about?" And then he came over. He had maybe like one or two first good matches, and the rest of the time he was just like a tronco. He's just there, and people were complaining about him. He had a decent Leagues Cup, but like I said, look at Leagues Cup with rose-tinted glasses. He's slow, not very mobile, and a lot of the defending has to be done by Garces, who has been injured. And recently, sorry, I don't know what's going on over here.
It's okay.
Sounds like my dog and my kid are playing. And so, recently Garces has been injured, and so Galaxy's had to figure out what to do without him.
Garces was a big pickup last year when he got there. Didn't he change up your defense when he got there last year? My understanding. Yeah. Real quick, Edgar, before we go to predictions, I wanted to know what you thought. We like to press high. We're going to put pressure. Although Luis Suarez is not necessarily the slightest off foot with his knees, we will press you high. How does the Galaxy play when being pressed high? Can they play out of it? Do they turn the ball over? Is that a weakness? Because that is what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to make you turn that ball over in our final third so we can take advantage and try to get a quick score.
Yeah, that's one of Galaxy's biggest struggle. We saw Cruz Azul employ that almost perfectly against them, and Galaxy, like I said, they struggled so much to get out, and Cruz Azul was just pressing them, and they kept having to pass the ball back to the goalkeeper, who was then pressed, and he would either kick the ball up the field to nobody, or he would turn it over. It was really hard. It made for a really ugly match, and so Seattle did kind of the same. They also pressured LA Galaxy, and this makes them feel so uncomfortable because they don't have somebody who can carry the ball from that back third up to the middle, and that's where Galaxy tries really hard to move up the middle, and they just can't. They don't have like either the skill, or they don't have the ability to just move the ball out of there. But once they do, and they do get the ball to like Peck or Paintsell, they can probably do something with it. But at that point, it gets to the point where it's frustrating, and the players just start. You can see their body language where they're just tired of having to try this over and over and over, and they just can't do it.
So I guess it's prediction time. instead of starting with Edgar, let's start from left to right. Solana, predictions. What do you think about the game on Saturday? What's your prediction?
3-1. I think Inter Miami's going to win 3-1. That's what I told Edgar last night. Unfortunately, I can't give him a clean sheet because they cannot keep a clean sheet. It's insane that they can't keep a clean sheet. But hopefully they shut me up and they do keep a clean sheet. But unfortunately, I got to go with the 3-1.
I'm sorry, Edgar, real quick before you go. Solana, in between the sticks, Ustari or Rocco on Saturday?
I mean, wow. I think I'd go with Stadi.
I think he's going to get to start also. But if he has another game like he had last week, then we might see Rocco on Wednesday against Tigres. Because if he's on a bad run of form 2 games in a row, then you have to be careful. But I can't imagine that he would have a game. That was historic. That was such a bad game.
I'm waiting for somebody to bring up. I'm waiting for somebody to bring up Yarborough in the chat.
No, Yarborough's not touching the field. Edgar, prediction time. What do you think Saturday?
I agree with Daniel Solana. I mean, you're both Danny. Who's Danny and who's Danny?
We're both
Solana
Danny.
is known as Solana so much. I don't know.
Okay. Because last night I was like, Daniel. Blah, 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 blah. No, I agree with him. I said 3-1 LA Galaxy. I mean, Inter Miami. I don't see LA Galaxy winning this match. Galaxy struggles already to play on the East Coast. Luckily, this one isn't like an early start because then we're absolutely cooked. But looking at who the ref is, looking at how bad LA Galaxy has been on the road this season, and just coming off that 4-0 loss to Seattle, and then I'm sure at this point of the season, knowing that they're not going to make the playoffs, the focus is going to be on Leagues Cup and that match against Pachuca. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some rotation in the starting lineup. We might not see the same players that we saw against Seattle, in which case we might see some of the other players that I haven't mentioned yet. So I see a Galaxy that's kind of distracted, focused on something else, losing this match. Now, it's funny. I brought this up to Solana last night where I said, a friend of mine pointed out, like, what were the chances that the 4 MLS teams that made it to the playoffs of the Leagues Cup would have to play each other, following the group play, section of Leagues Cup, and they play each other that same weekend because you had Galaxy versus Seattle, Orlando, Miami, and both Miami and Galaxy took losses where they gave up 4 goals. That's kind of creepy, man.
That would be cool to get those rematches. I would love to get Orlando in the semifinals. And then Tommy surprised that the Galaxy still exists with all the sun in LA.
Hey, the sun is always out here, man. No, I'm not one of those fans where I'm really upset with that. If you follow me on Twitter, I've been talking about how this is such a good thing for MLS, and I don't care if he's going to LAFC. I just know that the Korean population here is probably gonna love him so much because he's such a likable guy, and he's a good fit for their club at this time because they need somebody like that to attract some eyes to the league. And I think it's fantastic because you have Muller going up to Vancouver, you have Son coming over, you have Messi over there on the East Coast. It's just as many eyes as possible, and Major League Soccer, I think, is fantastic. It doesn't bother me too much. I think Galaxy are the champs. They should stand on their own business and not worry about the other teams. And 2026 is coming around. The teams that have more flexibility to do some other stuff. And as I mentioned to Solana yesterday, I was like, just because you bring in a big name doesn't equate to success right away. Galaxy brought in Beckham. People thought, oh, they're going to win everything. It took them 5 seasons to finally figure it out. So,
and look, they brought in Giroud last year. Not that he's as good as Son, but what did that lasted a year, and he got a total of 3 goals the full season. Like, yeah, that was terrible.
He has more goals in the last few weeks than he did in his entire LAFC career.
People talk about Suarez underperforming here in Miami. Look at what Giroud did over there in LA. Jesus, talk about underperforming. So before I get my prediction, I want to make sure that Tommy just came on, and thank God he did because I forgot to do so. I want to make sure that I put a quick promo out there. Battered Wrestling, first wrestling podcast on Sunday, 8 o'clock, was it, Tommy? 8 o'clock Sunday. So make sure you tune in. You're going to be talking about the John Cena Failure Tour. or I mean farewell tour. So make sure Battered Wrestling.
Really? You think it's a
if you have-
failure?
for you, I'll tune in on Sunday night. Battered Wrestling, 8 p.m. Make sure that you tune in if you haven't already, and you are a wrestling fan. Go ahead on YouTube, Battered Wrestling. Subscribe to the channel. Should be fun. All right, so Saturday, I think we win. I think we're gonna press high. I think we're gonna force turnovers. I think Messi doesn't play, but even without Messi playing, I still think we put up 2 to 3. And I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say we get a clean sheet. Why? I guess just so I don't have the same exact scoreline as you guys, because then we're all gonna say 3-1. So I'm just gonna go out on a limb, say 3-0, and I think that we'll be going into the Tigres game feeling decent, right? Because after that Orlando loss, Miami fans aren't feeling the best. So I think we'll go in there feeling decent, and we'll see how that goes after that. All right, Edgar, much appreciated for you joining us. Please let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram as Edgar Nags, to say it down here. My Instagram content's a little bit different. I usually do a lot of interviews post-match, and sometimes if I'm visiting supporters, I'll interview them as well. I think those are amazing. And I also interview traveling people, like people that travel from abroad to come to Galaxy matches. I've interviewed them, and just to get their ideas on not just Galaxy, but MLS in general is always very interesting. So check that one out when you get a chance.
For sure. Absolutely. Make sure that you check that out. They got a lot of stuff going on. I think you guys have a really cool name also. News Across the Galaxy.
Thank you.
Solana, any final words?
No, definitely go follow the Nags out there. And it's been fun, man. It's been fun. It's been a day of podcasting for me. I've been all over the place. I thank you, Danny, for having me on. Thank you, Edgar, for coming on. Thank you to the chat. And especially a big thank you to Pedri Potter. I think I found myself another fan out there.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but he hasn't. He's only gone negative at you the whole time. He hasn't gone negative at me yet. So
he seems to think that you're a South American that's living in South America. Dude, he lives like 10 minutes away from me. Like I don't know.
Vivo en Kendall, amigo.
Pedri Potter is, I don't know, man. He has a vendetta because he says that what is ruining football, soccer, and he says the United States of America. I don't know. You don't have to tune into the podcast, right? Like, you're just choosing to. Whatever. All right. Again, Edgar, we appreciate you as always. You're awesome. Solana, thank you for jumping on. Chris, enjoy yourself at Disney Springs, I suppose. And we'll be back on Saturday for the postgame. So if you're listening on audio, we appreciate you listening all the way to the end. Please give us 5 stars, comment, review, all the good stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. And for those of you in the chat, again, appreciate you guys hanging out with us the last 58 minutes. And we will be back on Saturday. So until the next one, have a good one.